All right, once again, welcome everybody to MiSCA 2022. I wanted to first get started by just showing off the new website. So we just launched a new MiSCA website on Friday, and it's still going through a little bit of construction. So you might notice some changes coming up, but in general, hopefully things are a little bit easier to find. And in general, just a little bit, nicer to look at. So there's a lot more pictures. Things are a lot bigger and more modern, and it's been a long time since we had gone through a website redesign. So that's kind of the first thing I just wanted to share with you. Feel free to hit the website miscabike.org, and you can scroll through kind of the look and feel of the site. But hopefully you'll find it as nice as I do. Eventually things will be even more organized in a good way. Right now, again, it's still in progress, but pretty much things have been copied over from the old site to the new one. And then a lot of the menus have been updated as well to kind of make it a little bit bigger. And kind of, you don't have to like go through all that collapsible menu screens. You can kind of be like, okay, do I want results? There we go, there's results. And we also have resources for each of the different areas. So right now, just the about and the racing have resources, but eventually there will be resources for teams and coaching right in the menu. So you don't have to go to that, that main resources page that has like, tons of stuff on it. So that's kind of the first thing I just wanted to show. And then we'll jump into the presentation. All right, so again, I'm Sean Warren. I'm MiSCA's executive director and the race director. I joined MiSCA in 2012 on the board, and since then kind of took on various roles throughout the organization, and have now landed at the executive director position. So throughout the year, I'm kind of leading the charge as far as what initiatives we're going through and leading the day-to-day. And then on race day, I'm kind of the one point of contact for the organization, kind of organizing, all the different activities that are happening during race weekend, and then also the drumbeat leading up to the races and the results and things like that after the fact. So a quick agenda for today. We're going to go through our mission, history, and growth, the league structure, the different initiatives that we have going on throughout the league, our current teams in the league, some rule changes for 2022, race category changes, which there actually isn't any changes, so that should just be race categories. The race schedule and fees, which there are some changes there. Obviously, every year has a different schedule, but we do have different fees this year than we had in the past. A call for volunteers, and then some additional Q&A. And just a heads up, I am muting all participants on the call. So if you do need to talk, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Currently, everyone should be muted. And you can always, if you have questions, throw them in the chat box, and I will try to get to them throughout the call. Oftentimes, other folks on the call will know the answers as well, and they might get to them before I do, which is great. And then usually I'll address it if I feel like a discussion would be nice to have on the topic as well, or if more people could appreciate that. So first, let's go over a little bit about our mission. We updated the mission last year. Let's see if I can get this thing to change. And I really love the mission. So kind of the headline is that we're empowering communities to develop and grow their K through 12 youth mountain biking programs. MiSCA is a 501c3 nonprofit. Since 2012, we've had that moniker, and we empower communities to develop and grow K through 12 youth mountain biking programs across the state. We instill confidence by promoting the values of an active lifestyle, healthy competition, and outdoor stewardship and adventure, while building lifelong friendships in an inclusive environment. So one thing that we kind of, obviously there's a competitive aspect to MiSCA, and we have a race series that is very popular and a lot of people go to and know us by. But in general, MiSCA is active throughout the year, helping to organize the teams, train the coaches, and kind of make sure that things are going smoothly for our over 1,100 kids throughout the year. And then on race day, obviously it's a huge undertaking, but that's only like 6 to 12 days a year. And MiSCA is operating the other, 355 days a year as well. by offering the other programming that we do. So we have youth focused programming, which is like our mountain bike race series. We have skills camps and clinics for kids, which we'll be reintroducing this year. We have initiatives to gain more female participation. And in years past, we've had the Student Leadership Council, which should be making a comeback hopefully next year. We've kind of been putting that off and focusing on some other areas that we want to focus on. And we're trying to figure out how the Student Leadership Council fits into what people are asking us for and what kind of value that we can give back to the community. We provide coaching curriculum and guidance. So we develop curriculum for our coaches for our to coach students of all abilities. We have a certification program and training for all of our coaches. And we practice safe biking and safe skills principle, or safe kids principles. And that's all kind of part of our code of conduct and our safe kids policy. And we also provide a statewide network of support. So we have a coach advisory committee that discusses kind of changes that we're making, and I get feedback from people throughout the year. We have roughly around 50 coaches in that advisory committee. So we're not just kind of making decisions in a vacuum. And then we also provide structure and guidance for clubs to form and grow. So I think we have 3 new clubs this year, at least 2 that are official, and hopefully more. And we provide some guidance to them about how to get started and what steps to take, and kind of the principles that we use to have a successful team. And then as that club grows, providing some best practices that we've seen from other clubs as far as how they were successful and how they managed their growth, or maybe didn't manage the growth very well, and things that we could have learned from in the past. So some quick history. MiSCA was founded in 2010. We were actually, when we were initially founded, we were under the Michigan Mountain Biking Association's nonprofit, and that was our inaugural season. It was really one race. In 2012, we got our nonprofit status. In 2014, we became a student-only organization. We used to have our races alongside the adult races, like in the championship point series. And in 2014, we went away from doing that. With the idea of that, being a scholastic sport would never, we'll never have that the true scholastic look and feel unless we are youth only. And it also allows us to put 100% focus on the kids on those race days, which is really cool. In 2016, we expanded some focus to West Michigan by doing some races over there. And in 2018 is really where the statewide annual MiSCA that we all know today, many of us know today, started. And that's where we started the league model and coach certifications. So before 2018, there were no official MiSCA teams. There was just kids and maybe some organizations that brought teams to MiSCA races, but we were really just a race series before 2018. In 2018, we introduced the coach certification. So we trained our coaches. We required first aid CPR and our safe kids policy, which gave us insurance for our coaches in case anything were to happen. And that's where the kind of the league model comes into play, where now there's organized clubs and teams, and then riders. And I'll talk about kind of the structure in a moment, but that model came about in 2018. We had pretty steady growth from 17 through 2020. And in 2020, we did have to limit our participation to maintain safety with COVID. But really the headline of 2020 is that somehow we were able to pull off 6 races, even though we had to limit it to 350 kids at each race, roughly. And you think about 2021, we had 650 kids at each race. It was really a limitation that we had to just kind of live with. And we're glad to be out of that cloud today. So a quick recap of 2021. We had almost 1,100 kids join a team or sign up to race. And that is up from 717 the previous year. So almost 400 more kids in MiSCA year over year. We had 635 riders registered for each race. That's on average, and that's up from 340. Obviously, that 340 is because of 2020. We probably would have had closer to 500 had we been able to open the floodgates for 2020. And we provided 6 races throughout Michigan. We had 420 certified coaches. That's up from 252 the year before, which is also huge growth for our coaches. All the coaches go through a background check and concussion training, and actually 177 coaches attended clinics, and that's up from 0 the year before. So in 2020, again, we didn't have any coaches or student clinics. Last year, we kind of made up for not having any coaching clinics the year prior by having a lot of them. And then a lot of the coaches take both. We had 2 different clinics last year that we offered, and a lot of them take both. So that 177 is probably more like, maybe 100 different coaches took classes, and some took more than one. And I had this heat map is kind of nice. I've never seen the visual like this. I've definitely seen lots of dots on a map before, but it kind of shows you the different hotspots where our participation exists. And then later on, when we look at our the race series, you'll kind of see how the races kind of line up with those hotspots. So a quick chart, the bike boom is real in 2020. I think everybody understood that. But, it's nice to be able to put numbers to it and understand it from our perspective. Like I mentioned in 2018, we always saw steady growth, and we always wondered kind of where the ceiling would be. And we don't think we're hitting it anytime soon, which is why we made changes this year to anticipate that growth and to be able to accommodate it. But you can kind of see that the top line there is how many students total have joined MiSCA each year. We're planning on having 1,300 students join MiSCA this year, up from 353 in 2018. So almost 1,000 more kids in MiSCA in 4 years. That's crazy. And then our coaches is that bottom, that dark red line. And we're up from 140 in 2018 to, we should hit 500 this year. And then that black line in the middle is our race participation. So again, you can kind of draw a straight line from 2018 to today and kind of get that, what the growth trajectory was. When you throw 2020 in there, it kind of like, offsets that curve a little bit, but you can kind of see how things were progressing throughout the years. And this is just another recap of kind of the history of MiSCA. In 2010, we only had a race series, right? So the black line continues to today from 2010. And 2018 is when we introduced the league programming. So you can see from 16 to 17, we had really good growth. It was basically 100% year over year. And then pretty much every year since then, it's been roughly 50 to 75% growth each year. Obviously, we can see the big difference in 2020, or actually 19 really until today. The expected is just a huge incline. And I really cannot say enough about our staff and our coaches and everybody who really took on the task of making all that happen. We had to put some things in place to make it all work, but in general, we're not on the ground every day. And somehow the coaches were able to maintain 100, 150 student teams. And luckily we had enough coaches to be able to maintain that. Now we just have to get trails that have parking for, 500 cars and can fit that many kids on a trail at the same time. I mentioned I would talk about the league structure a little bit more. That's what this section is about. So basically MiSCA is, you can kind of consider almost like a parent organization to all of the teams and clubs. So teams and clubs join MiSCA. Coaches join teams, or typically they're volunteering with a specific team. And then student athletes also generally join teams. Now, the teams support coaches and kids. The coaches are really supporting the student athletes. And you have to have coaches in order to have student athletes. So one thing that we realized in 2018 is by focusing on coach education and in general, the league structure, and having everything very official and again, structured, it really helped us to attract more students, and parents were more trusting of MiSCA in general, that things were going to be consistent year over year, and the practice locations were going to stay consistent, and the teams were going to exist throughout the entire year and not kind of waver. And then we also definitely, increased how many races we were doing and making sure that our races were, basically professional level events. One thing I just want to note is that students are not required to join a team to participate in MiSCA events. And I mentioned MiSCA events because we do have non-racing events like our clinics and camps, or like the Brave program, or even like the Student Leadership Council when that is going on, or Devo. You don't necessarily have to be on a team in order to join MiSCA or to participate in the races or anything like that. It's generally the ideal circumstance to be on a team because you get that coach guidance, and you get to hang out with your friends and have a good time. And it really provides the experience that a lot of the kids enjoy. Now, that's not always possible. There's a lot of students that live in the outlying areas that don't necessarily have a team yet. But the idea is that there could always be a team, no matter how small, that could join. And we'll really just need one or two parents that are ready to start it, and we can help to ignite that spark. So if anybody's interested in starting an official MiSCA team, there's an annual registration online and a fee. It's $150 per year per team. That gets you covered under MiSCA's insurance. And then you're also eligible for team awards at the races. So only official MiSCA teams are eligible for team awards. The coaches and riders then register with MiSCA to join your team. And the team registration is open right now. If you wanted to start a team today, you can go to miscabike.org/register, and you go scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a section there to register your team. Typically, you'd probably want to email us before you just do that, just to kind of get the idea of what's expected, and usually people aren't scrambling to start new teams. So if you are interested in doing that, please reach out. But if you're ready, I know there's some teams that have already reached out that are kind of ready. If you're on this call and you're ready to get rolling and be up and running before our registration starts, our race registration starts April 1st, definitely reach out and let's get you in the system. Also, teams, you can visit the resources page on the website. There are sample team budgets, there's tips and things like that to get started. Information about our insurance and other things like that are also on the website. And then coaches. So we have 3 different levels of certified MiSCA coaches. All levels will include the following, which is an annual registration. So each coach does pay $30 to be a certified coach. That does cover your background check. I know a lot of other organizations require you to pay for your own background check. So this does cover your background check every year that you register. You do have to be 18 years old to register as a coach and to help out on a team in that way. You'll review online concussion material and pass a quiz. It's really quick, like maybe 10-15 minutes. Most of it's self-explanatory when you read through it, but it really puts you in the mindset of understanding, oh yeah, they're just not confused. They got, it might be something serious. You'll review the coaching on the trail material and pass a quiz. Right now I'm in the process of updating that material so that it's not like an hour-and-a-half video that you have to watch. So it should just be like a 10 to 20 page PDF to review, and then about a 10 question quiz to pass, and then attend this webinar. So we like that all of our coaches will review this this presentation to understand, to get on the same level as everybody else, so that we're all on the same page with our mission and where we're headed and what the goals are. Also, with any rule changes and things like that year over year, it's helpful to have witnessed this information or this presentation. So you can see the full details at miscabike.org/coach. There's a lot of good information there. And registration for coaches is open today at miscabike.org/register. I will just make note that some teams have not yet opened up their registration. So if you've been in contact with a specific team that you think you're going to volunteer on, just make sure you reach out to your head coach before you just go ahead and sign up. If you try to register for the team and it doesn't work, then definitely reach out to that head coach because otherwise you'll get kind of bucketed into the independent team, and then we'll have to move you over. Not the end of the world, but preferably you would just wait until your team is ready for your registration to open up. Level 2 coaches, again, you're going to do everything that was mentioned on the previous slide. in order to be level 2, you do have to be 21 years old. This is a little bit more of like a leadership role that you're in as a coach. And so that we want you to be out of high school for a little while before you take on kind of that role. This is also where you start to report how much time you're spending with the kids. We require 20 hours of field work for 2022. That will probably, going forward, we'll move up to 30. Over the last couple of years, we've been struggling due to COVID stuff. So 2020, we had to delay the start of our programming, and the same thing happened in 2021. So there's just a lot of coaches that didn't get a full season out of it, and so we don't want to punish anybody for that. This is also where you are required to have first aid and CPR certification. We do require it to be an on-site certification, so a full Red Cross or American Heart Association certification. Typically, it's about 6 hours in person. It's every other year. They usually expire after like 2 years. And yeah, we do require that to be in person now. Again, you can see the full details on the website. And then to be a level 3 coach, again, all the same requirements as level 1 and 2. Your field hours, instead of being 30 or 20 for this year, will be 40. Normally would be 60 hours. Our level 3 coaches are typically the most dedicated coaches on the team. They've generally been on the team for multiple years. And excuse me. And then you'll also attend the Essential Mountain Bike Skills Coaches Clinic. If you've been around a little while, the Essential Mountain Bike Skills Clinic used to be called Basic Mountain Bike Skills. There will be a change to the way that the clinics are delivered this year, and the content will be a little bit different. But we are counting anybody who had taken that Basic Skills Clinic in the past will automatically be kind of grandfathered in to not have to take the essentials necessarily. However, it is being encouraged because the material is a little bit different, and we're going to probably do a lot of clinics this year with our new material. And I'll talk about the new material in a moment, but the essential skills is the kind of the first level coaching skills. So again, I mentioned field hours, but coaches should be tracking their field hours as they are completed. It's really hard to go in at the end of the year and be like, oh, what days did we do practice? What days did I miss? How many hours was the practice? Was I at every race? Those things are just a lot easier if you just keep track of it as you go. To make it easier, we do have a website with a form on it that you can fill out your hours there. And then you can look at, there's a pivot table that has all the, your hours calculated up. You do not have to use that form anymore. It used to be kind of a requirement. It no longer is. Again, for level 1 coaches, no experience is required. Level 2, you're required to have 20 hours, and level 3, 40 hours. If you're a brand new team, since you are required to have level 2 coaches, like in order to have a ride, we do remove the requirement for your field hours. So just reach out to registration@miscabike.org and let us know, and we can help to waive that for you. Again, that's not first year coaches, it's first year teams. So if it's a brand new team that hasn't been around, a first year coach, they can just come in as a level 1 coach. You're definitely welcome to go ahead and go through all the clinics and help in whatever way you can and get your first aid CPR. But until you get to that 20 hours, you wouldn't really be acting as a ride leader necessarily. And this is kind of a description of what you can do as your different level of coach. So a level 1 coach can do most things. What you can't do is ride outside with the team in a leading role. And leading doesn't mean you're the first rider in the pack. It means that you are, you are responsible for the group that you are riding with. It means you are your first aid CPR certified. And if something goes down, you are the one that would be responding and directing the other coaches what to do. You're the leader of that group. And then in order to teach mountain bike skills, that's where you become a level 3 coach. So level 2 coaches can lead rides, and then level 3 coaches can teach skills. Next year, we will have some changes with this. So a level 2 coach will start doing essential skills and a level 3 coach will have intermediate skills training. So there will be some changes next year, but there'll be plenty of time to be able to get that all in. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of clinics this year. So I encourage anybody who wants to be a level 2 coach to please go through the essential mountain bike skills this year, because it will be required next year. You can always take it next year, but it'll be easier next year if you already had it. And then you can just move on to your intermediate skills if you want to. And I do want to note that you do have to have 2 certified coaches present at all times. Basically, in every ride group, you have to have 2 adults, right? You never want to be one-on-one with a child. And then if somebody gets hurt or something happens on your group ride and you have to, you have to get out, you don't want to have like, what do I do with these other 11 kids that are here? If you don't have 2 adults, it's just really a bad place to be in. Okay, so then students, how do you join? So we have an annual MiSCA registration. So it's kind of like becoming a member of MiSCA. The price of that is $60 annually. And that, again, covers your ability to be able to join a team. It's from the MiSCA side of things, it's covering you for insurance and everything annually that happens throughout the year. And we do offer scholarships. So if cost isn't ever an issue, we've never turned anybody away. Typically there's, we have kind of a default response of something. And if you qualify for more than that, then it's 100% all of your fees are waived. So definitely reach out to that. And you can fill out the application at the scholarship site. Sarah mentioned in the chat that first year riders also, we do waive that annual registration fee. So we like you to kind of, again, we don't want a barrier to entry to the organization. But once you're hooked on mountain biking, then you feel like you should contribute a little bit to the organization. Again, we're a nonprofit and we are well within a shoestring kind of organization here. So again, yeah, first year riders, your registration is waived. I don't have it on the slide, but if you go to the website, you can find that. The code is first YR, so like first year abbreviated. And I'll put that in the chat as well, just so it's clear. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, registration is open now for students to join MiSCA. Again, some teams do not have registration open yet. So if you know that your team is not open yet, then do not go through the registration. We want you to go through the registration once your team is ready to start your registration. It also mentions that a participation code is required. That was definitely required for last year. I would say maybe half of the teams are still requiring a code. So you do have to reach out to the head coach if you're new to the team to get started on it. A lot of times what they like to do is let previous year riders join the team again. So they might have a period of time where they only allow returning riders to join. Then they feel out, how many coaches do we have? How many more kids can we support on the team? And then they might open it up to more of a general, everybody else. So if you reach out to the coach and you're brand new, just let them know and they'll let you know when it's time to get registered. And then again, independent riders, you can contact MiSCA if you'd like, registration at miscabike.org. But you can definitely go ahead and register right now to join. There is no participation code for independent riders. This is a little bit of a leftover from last year. So again, if you're not joining a team, you can just go to the MiSCA website right now, or miscabike.org/register. And there's a button there for independent teams. I'm just going to pull that up real quick. So this is the new registration site. If you haven't seen it yet, but it's broken up into, things that coaches need to do, which is maybe to join a team or submit their coaching requirements, like the first aid CPR, or maybe proof that they've done like a clinic or something like that. If you scroll down a little bit, the students, again, you might want to find a club or a team, but if you're independent, you can just click register as independent and it'll go right to the independent team. That first year code is also right here. So if you forget it or didn't write it down, it is right here on the website. And then race registration opens April 1st, and that will all be in the same system as well. So if I do that register as independent, it's going to go to the registration page for the independent club, basically. And then each team has their own kind of front end registration page where you choose, whether or not you want to join. They might have a store there. And then you go through the different registration questions that will be asked. Some initiatives that we have inside of MiSCA. This is our second year of doing the BOLD program. I'm sorry, the BRAVE program. This year is presented by Bora, so we're super excited about that. It's a Girls Adventure Club program. Registration for that will open up on April 1st as well. The schedule is on the website. I think that starts around May 1st-ish for the BRAVE program. It's a non-competitive group, so it's not going to be about going fast or trying to keep up with somebody. It's focused on having fun and adventure, different types of rides like gravel rides and things like that. Sarah mentioned it is for grade 6 and up. And yeah, the schedule is updated at miscabike.org/brave. There are 6 different rides throughout the year. So again, it's not like every Saturday you're doing a Brave thing. It's different days of the week and different times of the day and things like that. So it's very accommodating. It's led by a number of our coaches, and it's generally around Southeast Michigan currently. If you are not in Southeast Michigan and interested in starting a Brave program in your area, you can reach out to us and we will help you get set up with that. We're looking to start one in the west side of the state, maybe in the southwest side of the state, and anywhere else that would be interested in doing one as well. We can help you get started. Again, with Brave, there's no team affiliation required, so it's an independent kind of thing. We have Brave jerseys as well, so it's, you know, a lot of the girls were wearing the Brave jerseys, whether that they're at a Brave initiative or at Iceman, which is really cool to see. Okay, so it does say it's open to all MiSCA female students. It is grade 6 and up, just to make sure that that's clear. And once again, registration opens on April 1st for that. So MiSCA Devo, we started this last year. There hasn't been a whole lot going on yet this year, but if you're interested in it, hit that Devo website on our website or on the page on our website. The idea is for, you know, to give an area for varsity athletes from multiple teams to come together and to learn from each other and ride together, to give them some advanced coaching and whatnot. Okay, and then into our new coaching curriculum, I put finally in here. It's been a few years coming. Again, COVID really killed all of our hopes of having new coach programming in 2020, and then again in 2021. And we finally just said, well, that's not going to work. Let's just do our own thing. So we found Ben Tuffert out of Cognition Coaching. He's in Arkansas. And now he's put together some awesome stuff that he's used with other leagues around the country. And our instructors will be getting certified on this new program in April. And then we'll start offering coach and student clinics in this spring and summer. Generally, they're going to be provided in 4-hour sessions. So like a 4-hour essentials skills clinic or an intermediate clinic. And then just the different types of skills that you learn during that time will build on each other. One thing that's new as well is that there's a new study guide for each of these different levels, and there are pocket guides. So I don't know if my camera will work because my internet probably isn't the greatest, sharing screens on Facebook Live and all this other stuff that I'm doing right now, but I will try to show what one looks like and see if it works. Here we go. Oh. Maybe it's thinking about it. It came on and off. There we go. Okay, and I'm blurry. There we go. So it's just a little pocket guide like this. Has like a little carabiner on it, and then it runs through the various skills with pictures and various things that you might need to know about teaching that skill to the kids, or in general. Sorry, it's blurring it out because it's my Zoom, but you kind of get the idea. So it'd be nice that the coaches can put these on their packs, and we'll have them available for each of the different coaching levels. Also new this year is our new registration system. So thank you to everyone who's who's braved the slowness of the site so far. It is getting faster. Every time I go in there, I'm like, oh, it isn't so bad. And um, March 1st, it was really slow, and now it's definitely a lot quicker. So sorry to everyone who registered early and had to go through that. But race registration should be a lot faster when it opens up. So CCN is a cycling specific event membership registration application. So it's really nice because it kind of fits what we need it to do. It's tailored to cycling and to leagues and memberships like what we have. And so we can put, without having to have all these different codes and people sneaking in the system through the back door, we can make sure that everyone is doing things the right way. It also gave us a lot of flexibility for the teams to be able to create their own events, to charge their own team fees, to sell merchandise and whatnot. Teams can also get their own reports out of the system, which was all manual before that. I had to provide those to the coaches on like a weekly cadence. But they might, want data, the day of their practice or the day before the race or something like that, the most up-to-date information. And now they can get that themselves. They can also create their own custom reports and things like that. The URL is still miscabike.org/register. That used to go to our sports sign up website, and now it goes to the CCN site. If you were registered in 2021, all of your data was migrated over to CCN. So hopefully it'll make that process somewhat painless, like your address and what kids are yours, that kind of thing will all be in the new system if you haven't seen it yet. It's pretty nice. Make sure you do check your email though. There was an email that went out on March 1st with a link for you to reset your password. Make sure you do that. You don't have to register right away to do that. So if you haven't done it yet, just go ahead and get logged in, get a lay of the land, and then make sure your information is updated, that kind of stuff. And then on April 1st, when it's time to go live with race registration, you'll be good to go. And I know that some of the teams also have delayed their registrations until April 1st as well. So if you just haven't been in there yet, now would be a good time to like check it out, make sure your password's all set and ready to go. So, sorry, I keep on going back and forth to the slides to make sure that it's not advancing twice because it's moving a little bit slow on me. So we have two different types of teams in MiSCA. We have scholastic teams, which are, generally how you would define like a school-based sport. And we have composite teams, which can be students from any school in the area, or maybe like homeschooled kids. The scholastic teams, we only have a few of them, but generally they're based out of a specific high school or maybe a school district. Oftentimes a scholastic team will allow students to join their team that are not part of that school district, but they don't score points for their team. So only, people who, for example, attend Brighton High School will score points for the Brighton High School scholastic team. And then we have two different divisions when it comes to competition on race day. So the scholastic teams race against each other and the composite teams race against each other. And that's when it comes to team points and team awards. In general, mountain biking is first, I would say, an individual sport. And then everything kind of rolls up into your team after that. But yeah, so I'll go into the different teams that we have. So for composite, I'm not going to read them all off, but here's the list of the different teams that are current or may have been around last year. And we hope that they'll see them back this year. And on the right side are the scholastic teams. And once again, composite, open to anybody in the area. And then on the right side is scholastic. It's a school-based team, and they may allow non-school district students to join. A lot of times when that happens is like you might have like elementary, middle school kids that are joining the team that might not go to a school in the district, or even high school. It does happen too. And then on race day, we just scored them separately than the scholastic based team. So the 2022 rules will be published on April 1st. or at least by April 1st, so that when you go through your race registration, you'll accept that you've read the latest rules. It is the responsibility of the coaches and the parents to ensure that the students understand the rules. They can be a little bit lengthy, like I think it's around 40 pages, something like that. It's not crazy. Like a lot of sports do have, there might be hundreds of pages of rules. And a lot of ours are common sense as well. It's just a matter of them being on paper so that penalties can be understood in case they happen and whatnot. So please read through that and then make sure that your students are aware of the ones that, you know, they may come across. It's generally on race day is where these rules come into play, but they do apply for the whole year. So just make sure you look through those and then we'll go through, next slide is the changes for this year. So if you go to that site right now, it's going to be the 2021 rules. Again, you can totally look at those right now. There's not many changes, and I'm going to go through the changes right now anyways. So the changes for 2022 are not crazy. So last year we allowed outside assistance, which means aid, whether it's like mechanical help or touching your bike or something like that to hold it while you're fixing your bike or helping you up or doing anything from somebody else to get help in the race. We started allowing that for everybody except for varsity. And varsity can still get aid, but it does cost them a penalty if they choose to accept it. So now the rule is that any rider that's not varsity can receive aid from anyone who may be in the position to help. And that was kind of bred from a sportsmanship thing that we saw last year that was pretty awesome. And we wanted to make sure we recognize that as something that we should be promoting as a community of mountain biking, that we should be helping our, you know, somebody who's in need, regardless if we have a, you know, if we have a volunteer vest on or if we're racing at that time. If we're just spectators, we should still be helping, you know, if needed. Racer staging. So we looked at this. We had some, you know, over the years, we've had concerns over the staging. In the past, it would always been based on current series points. And for the first race, it was just based on the previous year. So however many points you got in the previous year, that's where you lined up for staging for the following year. And then after race one, it was 100% based on your current series points. And we never dropped a race until after race 5. So only, actually, after race 6 is when we dropped one race. So let's say you missed race number 1, you would be at the back of the pack at race number 2, and you'd have to work your way back up throughout the year. And anybody who attended more races than you would likely be in a better position than you for the entire year. So this year, we're trying to make that a little bit less impactful if you have one bad race or if you miss a race. And so basically, we're going to automatically start dropping one race from the current year. So if you miss race 1 or miss race 2, we would drop that missed race. Or if you have a DNF or just a, you know, maybe you place 5th and normally you're 1st, we can drop one race out of your current year and it'll happen automatically based on your lowest score. And what's also new is that we will consider your prior year performance through race 2. And again, in the past, we only looked at the prior year for race number 1, and it was the cumulative series points, your total for the previous year. So let's say you only did 1 or 2 races because you just, you know, those are the ones that were local to you. You would always start at the back of the pack every year and then kind of have to work your way back up. And for 2022, we're going to be looking at your best performance from the previous year as opposed to your overall series points. And that way it allows some riders that maybe did well in 1 or 2 races to be able to start in a better position so that they can be more consistent throughout the year. And then also, again, just kind of penalizes riders less that may have started last year as their first year and weren't able to do all the races or get, you know, really score for the series. So we're still working on the wording for that. It's pretty much finalized, but again, that will come out April 1st for sure. And then we're going to define pre-ride times as well. So because we have Saturday races this year, spoiler alert, which some changes coming, we just need to be more specific on when riders are allowed to pre-ride. Basically, you know, if there's a race happening, then you're not allowed to pre-ride while the race is happening. That was always the rule before, but now it becomes more of a concern because races are happening on Saturday, and a lot of riders would pre-ride on Saturday. The races are planned to happen from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon to evening. And so that would be a time that, again, a lot of riders were pre-riding and now would be off limits. And it doesn't mean that you just can't ride the race course at that time. You cannot be on, the active race course at that time. Let's say you're varsity and you want to ride the advanced loop. You're not allowed to do that either. So there's just too much crisscross in the trail, and getting out there is going to interfere with other riders on the course. And we don't want to have any confusion or accidents or anything like that. And so basically, if there's an active race happening, that you cannot be on the race course. Definitely encouraging people to pre-ride ahead of race weekend if you can. We know it's a little bit of a trip, but make a weekend out of it or something. And also, you can definitely pre-ride on Saturday before 2 o'clock and after 5 o'clock. Most of the year, it's still daylight after 5 o'clock. Most of the teams are still practicing after 5 o'clock throughout the year. So I understand it is, a little bit of inconvenience for the Sunday riders, and definitely the Saturday riders have to find a time to pre-ride as well, right? So they're going to be scrambling to get there earlier on race day, maybe, and definitely have to pre-ride, hopefully before Saturday, because if you want your fresh legs and whatnot, you probably should check out the course before race day. So we don't have any changes to race categories this year. So the same 20 categories that we had last year will remain this year with the same definitions and the same naming. The real difference is that all of our elementary riders will be racing on Saturday instead of Sunday. So that's kind of referenced here. I'll really quickly just kind of go through the different categories and kind of what they mean. And I'll go from kind of the bottom up in each group. So lower elementary is for grades 3 and under. Typically, they're doing one lap of what we call our beginner course, which is around 3 miles. The upper elementary will generally do an extra lap of that course, and that's for grades 4 and 5. And then our advanced elementary actually moves up and does our novice race course or intermediate race course. There's not always a difference between the beginner and what the advanced elementary will do, but the number of laps is always different, and the way it's approached is a little bit differently as well. So I'll jump over to the next slide, which covers novice first. But advanced elementary is open for all riders grades 5 and under. So a lower elementary rider can definitely join advanced elementary if they're ready for that. And it gives everybody kind of a place to go without having to start competing with middle school riders too early. Last year, just as a reminder, we renamed our novice, our middle school category as novice, because they do the same course as our high school novice riders. And so we just wanted to be consistent. And so novice is novice regardless of your grade, but we do have different groups for your grade. So there's just so many boys in middle school in novice that we have it broken out. Every single grade has their own race category and their own group for awards and whatnot. And then the girls are bundled together for all of middle school. And then again, novice is going to typically do, oftentimes they'll do the beginner course and they'll do like 3 laps of the beginner course. Sometimes they'll do an intermediate course. And the intermediate course is generally going to be like 2 laps maybe, but it's a more difficult course. So just kind of keeping that in mind. And then the advanced middle school riders, they actually do our advanced course. So the same course as a varsity rider in high school would do. But they'll do 1 less lap than the varsity riders do. And advanced middle school is a good bridge for getting from middle school to high school so that you can go right to junior varsity or even right to varsity in 9th grade without necessarily having to have a really big gap in the type of courses that you've been doing. And again, it helps to keep a lot of middle school riders from wanting to move up to junior varsity too early and have to go against high school riders. Kind of already covered what novice is about, right? But there is a novice for high school as well. And then junior varsity and varsity are doing that same course as advanced middle school. It's what we call our advanced course. In the advanced course, typically junior varsity and advanced middle school are doing 2 laps, and varsity is doing 3 laps. That's not always set in stone. It's just kind of a generality for what to expect. And then kind of as you go up from beginner, intermediate to advanced, the length and or difficulty of the course increases. So again, on beginner, you're typically doing like 3 miles. On intermediate, it might be 5 miles. On advanced, it might be 6 or 7 miles. And it just depends on, the course. And it also depends on how difficult the course is, as far as how long that course may be, as far as mileage goes. Generally, we try to organize it around how long it takes to do the course, not so much around how many miles the course is. So sometimes people will say, oh, this is only like a 15-mile course. Well, yeah, it's only 15 miles, but it's going to take like, 30 minutes a lap or something like that. So, and that's like maybe for 3 laps. So we have a lot of balance that we have to do with our race courses to make sure that that they work and that they fit within the time frame of race day. Okay, so the 2022 race schedule is set. I believe it was announced before the first of the year. Our first race this year is at Mid-Michigan College, presented by Ray's Bike Shop. That's a new sponsor for this year. We're super excited to have them and thankful to the folks up there in the Midland area for helping to secure that. And they've seen a lot of growth in the Midland area. I will throw up that kind of that heat map so we can kind of see where the races are at compared to where our population is as well. Our second race is a new course for us as a Wasapee. It's a Boy Scout reserve over in the Muskegon area. That's presented by Hammerhead Bikes of Howell. They presented our Cannonsburg race last year. Again, super appreciative to them. Howell, if you're not familiar, is kind of around that red blurb furthest west that's red. So not very close to a Wasapee or a Muskegon, but we're very appreciative to them for jumping in to help us with the race sponsorship there. The third race is at Bloomer Park, presented by Fraser Bicycle, a longtime supporter and a long-time race course that has been pretty popular over the years. After a week off, we'll be at Heritage Park. That's presented by Wheels in Motion out of Ann Arbor. Heritage Park we started at last year was our first race, and it was pretty popular. It was a very warm weekend. It seems to be whenever we go very far north, it gets very cold, and when we're far south, it gets very hot. Nothing to do with the time of the year, 100% to do with geography, being sarcastic. But so we kind of flipped that this year. So Mid-Michigan College is first, which last time we were there for the state championship, and it was snowing. And last year we started at Heritage, and so this year it's kind of in the middle of the pack. So we're hoping it won't be 100 degrees there in the end of September. So, but again, really fun race course, a really challenging technical course as well. So just a different aspect of a race, or different style race than what some of the other ones are. And I'm sorry, I said there was a week off between Bloomer and Heritage. There is not, my bad. The week off comes between Heritage and Merrill. So the Merrill race is a little bit later than normal this year, race number 5. We are looking for a sponsorship for the Merrill race. So if you know anybody with some cash laying around that wants to support youth mountain biking, we would greatly appreciate it. Merrill, again, is a really popular course. I only get to ride it like once a year, and I love it. So hopefully we'll be better prepared with parking this year. I know that was a challenge last year. So we know that's a challenge, and so we'll be addressing that. There was some multiple event conflicts last year that we shouldn't have a conflict with this year as well. Having the 2-day races will also help that. And then our state championship race, we're back at Lakeshore Park for the first time since I think 2018. Maybe it was 19. I can't remember. It was 19 or 18. I believe it was 18 though. And so that'll be our state championship race. Yeah, it was 2018. And we're excited to be back there. It's an awesome course. There's a lot you can do with it. You can kind of break it up into chunk it off into different areas and keep people where they need to be in the right skill levels and all that. And it also has a really good, start finish area, and in general, just like a nice venue that we can be at. All right, so once again, just to kind of cover what the fees are. So you are required, if you do want to race, you do have to have the annual MiSCA registration at $60. Once again, we do waive that fee for first year riders using, if you use code first year at checkout. It's on the screen actually right now at the bottom. Again, we're trying to get as many kids to join mountain biking and get on their bike as possible and fall in love with the sport. And then hopefully that will, translate into future years of participation. And we're all about that. So let's get some more kids on bikes, and and we'll figure out the money later. No problem. As far as race registration goes, we charge a different rate by the level of school that a rider is in. So I do know that like advanced middle school might do a longer course or than even like a high school novice rider does. For simplicity's sake, and you might not know what race category you're in when you're registering, it just makes sense for us to do this by grade level. So elementary riders, if you get in early enough, which is 2 weeks before the race, the cost per race is $20, and middle school is $25, and high school is $30. That's probably 85-90% of the riders are in that early bird range. Just get registered early and you'll save $10 per race. If you, for whatever reason, you're not sure if you're going to be available or something like that, then just understand it might be an extra $10 if you decide to register within the last 2 weeks before the race. And we do not offer race day registration. There's no on-site registration. Registration ends the Wednesday before the races at midnight. So Wednesday night would be your last time to register for the upcoming race of that, the weekend's race. And there is no registration after that. So there's no on-site, there's no online registration for an extra fee, nothing like that. So make sure you get registered in time. And then an item that has become more and more popular every year is to go with the full series registration. So if you register for all 6 races at one time, you do pay full price. So you get the early bird pricing for all 6 races. But if you do that, you get a free t-shirt. So we sell a series t-shirt. It's the same shirt for the full year. It's between $15 and $20, depending on if you're elementary or high school. But we'll give you that t-shirt for free, and all the shirts get delivered at the first race. So generally, if you're on a team, you go to your team tent and you pick up your t-shirt. Those might not be available until race number 2, just because it takes a little bit to get organized. But yeah, there's youth sizes and adult sizes. And again, those are free. And I just want to stress this one more time, because we're getting into race registration coming up. But if you decide to buy a t-shirt, it is the same shirt that you will get for free if you register for all 6 races. And it should also be noted that you have to register for all 6 at the same time in order to get the free shirt. So it'll automatically happen during registration this year with the new system, that if you put all 6 races in your cart at the same time, which is like just you check 6 boxes and hit go, it will ask you what size shirt you want, and it will move you on from there. If you don't put all 6 in, it will still ask you what size shirt you want, but you'll be paying for the shirt if you want it. You don't have to add the shirt to your cart if you don't want it, but it'll be prompted there. I just want to stress one more time, elementary riders are racing on Saturday and high school riders are racing on Sunday. I don't think I really talked about that in any other slide like in depth, but in general, it was announced last year at around this time that was going to be the plan for 2022. I think everybody who was at a race last year, it's understood that we cannot support any more racers on the same day. So unless we want to start turning away riders or limiting, what ages we can support or something like that, we have to split this into multiple days. It's not convenient for anybody, including the race staff and everybody who has to, who volunteers and helps us put everything on. So it's nothing that anybody necessarily wants to do, but it's just kind of a necessary thing in order to maintain, to give the option to people who do want to attend the races to be able to do so, regardless of who has the fastest finger to register, fast enough. I will also point out that we're not planning on limiting registration this year. for races. So we think we'll have around 750 riders, at each race. We had 650 last year. So that's in line with our general growth that we're seeing. We don't think, if we go a little bit over, 750 is like our average number that we're planning on. So we plan on going a little bit over that maybe. But we don't have a hard number this year that we're getting to. So April 1st, it doesn't mean that Sarah, is it 9 a.m. when registration opens? She's in the chat, so I'm gonna lean on her a little bit. 8 a.m. Okay, 8 a.m. on April 1st, registration opens. It does not mean that you need to have your computer ready to go. You're not going to get a better position or something like that because of how fast you were that morning or something. And we're not planning on reducing the number of riders that can attend the series. So take your time, take a breath, and make sure that everything is good to go and all your stuff is in a row and your team is ready to accept registrations, and then you can go ahead and do all your stuff at the same time. Again, you have to have your annual registration completed before the race registration really can start. And because the annual registration is tied to your team that you join, it just makes sense to do the team stuff at the same time or before your race registration starts. And sorry, Sarah corrected herself and myself. It's actually midnight on April 1st. So, March 31st night at midnight, April 1st morning at midnight is when registration opens. Again, do not pull an all-nighter. You do not need to be in right at midnight. I know there are some people, Jeff Wirt, who likes to be the first one to register, even if their team isn't ready for them yet. And Sarah also says, if you try calling us at midnight or emailing us, we're going to be asleep. So please, feel free to get your cup of coffee in the morning and go ahead and go through the process. Definitely check your stuff ahead of time, get logged in, get your password set up and all figured out, make sure that your information is in the system. But you don't need to worry about being registered first thing. So we always have a call for volunteers. This year is no different, and in fact is probably a little bit more, sounding the alarm of we're really going to need volunteers. Just like in 2020 when we had to limit how many people were on site at any given time, and we wanted people to kind of come in quickly and focus on the group that they're with and then leave. I'm not saying it's the same idea in 2022, but the idea is that we have races happening on Saturday and Sunday. There's going to be a lot more setup happening on Saturday than what we had traditionally done. So we need more help with our setup on Saturday to make sure that we're ready to go for the Saturday races. We're still setting up everything on Saturday. So we're just planning on getting there a little bit earlier, like maybe like 9 a.m. we're going to be there. And it takes 4 or 5 hours to get all set up. So then we'll have our races for the elementary riders. And then on Sunday, we won't need as much help with setup. We still will need help because there's a lot of things we can't leave up overnight. But setup will be less of a concern on Sunday. And in general, usually the area that we need the most volunteers for is course marshals. And in general, the most volunteers that are experienced and can help us out. If you go to miscabike.org/volunteer, you can read like the requirements of a course marshal and what's going to be expected of you. There's a really good guide that Mike put together that kind of shows, what you'll be doing, which is nice to know. And then also on race day, or roughly like the week before race day, like when you go to sign up to volunteer, there's generally a one-sheeter that will show you for each course marshal position what you'll be doing at that position. So if you're at a trail crossing, where like maybe the trail crosses over a paved path where there might be spectators, or other park traffic might be riding their bikes down that paved path, or walking or running or with their dogs, that kind of thing. There'll be some heads up of like, this is what you need to be doing and where you need to be looking and what you need to do. There might also be like an area where you might be stuck at a bridge. And that bridge might be a little bit of like a danger point if it's slippery or something like that. So just pointing out why you're there and what's important. Sarah also mentioned that some of the course marshals do require first aid, CPR, and maybe a coaching certificate, because coaches will understand a little bit more about what to expect at a certain area. But not all of them are like that. Some of them will be more of like a course crossing, or maybe just helping out at a point that there's a lot of traffic or spectators present that you need to kind of be more crowd control. So it's less about mountain biking and more about making sure that there's no issues happening. Okay. Lastly, there will be a slide for like questions and stuff like that, but I just wanted to say thank you to our sponsors before anybody logs off of the call. We couldn't keep the prices the way they are, which in general are rather inexpensive in youth sports or in mountain biking in general. So we really appreciate all of our sponsors. Particularly as you go from the top down is generally the amount of support that different organizations have given us. And so again, greatly appreciate everybody from the top to the bottom, and look forward to working with everybody throughout the year to make everything successful. So please support the shops that support us, or support your team. I know some of the teams have their own shop sponsors, so please support those local bike shops. And then join your local trail association. So like the MMBA, West Michigan Mountain Bikers Alliance, CRAMBA, Central Michigan Mountain Bike Association. Join your associations and support the trails that we're riding on. So I also want to leave you, if you're probably, if you're going to register, you're going to get automatically signed up for the newsletter. But go ahead and throw your email address at miscabike.org/update and just make sure that you're on the list so that you get any emails from us. You can follow us on Facebook, join our Facebook moms group. It's called MiSCA Moms, but it's good for everybody. It just sounds good to say MiSCA Moms. So you can go to facebook.com or go to our page and then click on groups or type in MiSCA, and I'm sure you'll find it. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. And I will address this stuff in the questions. Okay. And then I just want to thank everybody for attending. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, or you can unmute your line and the world will hear your voice. If you want to email me and not ask me the question today, you can definitely email me at swarren@miscabike.org. If you have questions about the registration system or in general about how to get moving, you can email us at registration@miscabike.org. Sarah and I will see those emails. And if you're interested in volunteering or giving back in some way, maybe you train first aid CPR classes or you teach the classes and you want to give back to the organization or see if you can organize something like that for us, that might be something that we would do. Or if you're really good at social media or something like that, maybe we could use your help on Facebook. So just feel free to email us if you have any ways that you think you may be able to help us. So for now, I'll open it up to questions. Cool. I'm seeing thank yous. One thing I will note is that if you've registered as a coach so far, it would be helpful for you to log into CCN, go to miscabike.org/register, go into CCN and check your memberships and licensing. And in that section, it'll tell you, what certification you have completed or what level you're at. And actually, I want to show that for those that may not be familiar yet. And I know this is a new system. So for example, if I go to my memberships and licenses, so when you're logged into CCN, you'll get this box here. And for coaches, now when you register, you automatically get registered as like a level 1 coach. So don't be alarmed if you see that on your profile, or if you see level 1, level 2, and level 3 all in your cart when you go to check out. That's okay. It just it automatically registers you for all levels. And then as you accomplish the various requirements throughout the year, it will grant you the greatest level possible. So in order for me to be a level 3, I still have some work to do. So what do I have to do? I can go to actions required. So I haven't done my concussion training yet. I haven't done my first aid CPR, and I didn't put in my field hours. I haven't put in 40 hours yet. So you can come in here and you can ask, oh, how do I do that? Like, what would I do? So for concussions, for example, it'll say, okay, all coaches are required to take the quiz. and then you visit the submission page and enter the date you completed it. So here I can click on the review the materials and take the quiz. So right from this page, I can get to all the different areas I need to go to kind of accomplish what I need to do to be able to move up in my certification. And then this is just a Google form with the concussion quiz in it. You'll put your email address in, and then you review the PDF here, which is pretty easy. Kind of read through, it's a couple page PDF. And then once you've done that, then you'll move on to the quiz. Once you pass the quiz, just put the date that you completed the quiz in CCN, and then you're done with that step. Good to go. One of the things that you'll notice in here first is that as a background check. So I've already cleared my background check. Everything's good with me there. Went through a process because I was probably the first person to register to make sure that everything worked. And we had some hiccups early on in the registration system. So if you registered as a coach a while back and you're still seeing your background check sitting here as a requirement, reach out to us and let us know that you didn't get an email or something's wrong. Let us know and we can help to push that through a little bit. It is a common thing that we've heard that, well, I haven't seen the email. Definitely check your spam folder. A lot of the CCN emails are going to spam, unfortunately. So if you haven't got an email and you expected one, check your spam. You should get an email every time after you register for something. And especially like when you're a coach, you'll get emails for the background check and whatnot. So a question came in, that's good. So someone said they submitted their training requirements for level 1, but they're still showing as incomplete. So it doesn't automatically get marked complete. We do have to review it on our side to make sure things look legit. But once we check a box that says approved, then all of your stuff will get moved over to approved. All right. Were there any other questions out there? Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. So with that, I will stop the call and thank you again to everybody for being here, for watching, even if you weren't here live. Again, we couldn't do any of this stuff with MiSCA without our coaches and all of our volunteers that help out all year long. Like I said, we'll have 500 coaches this year putting in, I will say well over 60 hours average per year, helping the organization and helping the kids on their teams and clubs. And then on race day, we'll have probably about 100 volunteers, for race weekend every weekend. So another 600 volunteer positions that we have to fill for the races. And we really just appreciate everybody's help and motivation and willingness to lend a hand when called upon. So thank you guys, and we'll talk soon. See you guys on the trail. Weather is starting to get right. Thanks, guys.